This is ridiculous. What better way to kick off this weekend family workout than a double scoop of the new Alien pre-workout? And then I got straight into the neutral grip lat pull downs. And then some heavy T-bar rows. And then there was a small guest appearance from Kennedy whilst I did some neutral wide grip pull downs. Then one of my favorite exercises of all time, single arm dumbbell row. These just hit differently when you go heavy for 5 to 8 reps. And then of course I finished off my back workout with straight arm rope pull downs. By this time my lats were cooked and it was time to pump some bicep curls. Please note, also by this time, I think Kennedy was very bored. The gym is over and it's time to do some work. Today we're rolling with Mr. and Mrs. Wolf of Eat Street. We're off to the Eid Festival to visit Mr. and Mrs. Spud and smash Australia's largest loaded spud. And let me tell you, from the moment we walked in, I knew they weren't playing. This festival was crazy. Loud music, dancing, a lot of food everywhere. I was glad I had my team in my corner. This loaded spud literally had everything on it. I don't think I've seen that much potato on one plate before. And they definitely weren't shy with the toppings, they just kept coming. Hey guys, today we're at the Eid Festival. I'm at Mr. and Mrs. Potato and I've got Australia's biggest loaded spud. This is their Mexicana spud. He weighed in at 6 kgs. Find me a bigger spud in Australia. I'm about to smash it.
You can do this.
That's what I keep telling myself. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So as we all know, loaded spuds have been the latest craze in Australia for the last couple of months.
Look at that cheese pull, guys.
And there's been many people claiming to have the biggest, the most loaded, blah blah. So what do? I go and get the biggest tray I can find and the scales, and we make Australia's biggest loaded spud. Now it just so happens that Mr. and Mrs. Spud have a Mexicana spud. It's already loaded to begin with. But of course, when J Webby is around, portion sizes go out the window. Bigger is always better. Although this time I wasn't sure if I could get this done. Maybe yet again I've bitten off more than I can chew. This is a lot of potato. And that's before all the toppings. But of course I got my lucky spoon and a crowd of people, so I'm gonna give this everything I've got. Because what use is making Australia's biggest loaded spud if you don't smash it? If you don't finish it, it doesn't count. This is ridiculous. And with literally all the people from the Eid Festival stopping what they were doing and crowding around to watch me, I couldn't let everybody down. And I also had to do Mr. and Mrs. Spud some justice. While this was outrageous, it was so delicious. But I want to reiterate, this was so outrageous. The toppings were so dense, a lot of guacamole, sour cream, cheese, and of course ground beef. They actually go really well with potato, but man, this mixture is dense. I guess one positive to this outrageous food challenge, it was minimal chewing. So at least I could concentrate on the flavor fatigue and not the jaw fatigue. And I did my best to eat this loaded spud in portions. So I ate the section with the guacamole, the section with the sour cream, and the section with the ground beef as separate as possible. And occasionally I would mix it together, just to change up the flavor and the texture. Because this was a lot of food. 6 kilos is nothing to be laughed at. I was making really good time. I was actually really impressed with how I was going. But we all know potatoes going to expand in your stomach and it was going to hit really hard real soon. So I tried to mix up the flavor and the texture as much as possible, and lucky I had my Pepsi Max. This was definitely an interesting food challenge. Obviously I'd never taken on a Spud food challenge before and I wasn't sure what to expect. And I was definitely taking on a lot of air. I would go through periods of mega bloating and then do a huge burp and feel good again. which happens in most food challenges, but not to this extent. I guess that means the spuds were fluffy and cooked to perfection. But this was definitely becoming a challenge. I definitely should have attempted this standing up. Rookie error. I was just too starving and I didn't think before I started. That's what I get for being impatient. Nevertheless, I think I'm making good time.
They want to know how many cans of Pepsi you've drinking. Two?
And the good news is, most of the guacamole, sour cream, and cheese is finished. But this last portion isn't for the faint-hearted. This is where most people will bow out of this food challenge. Whilst the bulk of this food is actually finished,
Almost there, guys. Yeah, come on!
but I had such great support from everyone around, I was determined to get this done and set a new Australian record for the biggest loaded spud ever eaten.
Webby, 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 Webby,
Wow.
Thank you. I hope you didn't lose. What do we have here? Candied grapes.
Candied grapes.
It would be rude not to.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and you can feel a candied grape in there.
After those 6 kilos, guys.
Alright guys, there you have it. That's Australia's biggest loaded spud, over 6 kgs. I'm at Mr. and Mrs. Potato. Check them out on Instagram and TikTok for their weekly location. I'm at the Eat Festival. I'm gonna go and party. Go cheers! Thank you guys. Thank you for being a part of my antics.